How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. We're going to go ahead and get started so we can stay on track as other people come in. All right, my name is Felicia Hatcher. I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm the chief popsicle of Feverish Pops and then the co-founder of Code Fever. I think maybe a few of you were at our workshop earlier today. But I'm really excited about this panel. All the entrepreneurs up here have done some phenomenal work on the business side as well as in the community. So I'm excited for this topic of Ujima, the fourth Kwanza principle, and centering it around entrepreneurship, but then also how to really build vertically integrated communities, because I think that's one of the things that we're kind of lacking in our cities across the nation as far as building up our community. So I have a few questions for the panelists, and then I'll open up to any questions that you may have. I would love for it to just be a conversation. So anytime you have a question, just let me know, and we'll keep the conversation going from there. Sounds good? All right, so they all have super long bios, so I'm just gonna breeze through them really quick, and then I'm gonna let them also introduce themselves. So we'll start right here with Mr. Derek Pearson, owner of Feverish Pops and co-founder of Code Fever and an author. He's a trailblazing social entrepreneur with an authentic voice for change. Over the past decade, Derek has dedicated his life to inspiring a new generation of leaders through his conversational talks on business, technology, and Pan-African empowerment. Pearson is a Morehouse graduate with an economics and mathematics degree. He's been honored at the White House for being one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under 30, as well as being on the Cooking Channel, Washington Post, Boston Globe, Black Enterprise, Innovator of the Week. He worked for some really big companies, Target, Nintendo, Verizon, managed programs for the U.S. Air Force Supercard program and DirecTV, and was part of the team that spearheaded President Obama's National Education Initiative, where he traveled around the nation helping to increase high school graduation rates by promoting STEM subjects to disadvantaged high school students through a virtual energy lab. He is the owner of Feverish Pops, and he's also the author of a book and part of Code Fever and Yes We Code nationwide. Give a round of applause to Derek Pearson. I next have Lawrence Constant, who is the founder of Constant Mobile in 2011, a retail cellular repair operation. He has since ventured into acquiring AT&T's new franchise, AIO Wireless, where he's currently a market leader across the nation. This guy is a really cool guy. Only sent me a short bio, so I hope he goes into all the stuff that he's been able to do from the business side and also in the community. Sounds good? Sure. All right, next, my name is James. All right, James Taylor is the founder of Tailored Athletes, Tailored Heart Foundation. He's also an author. He owns a Boca Raton-based youth sports educational consulting company. Taylor has recently been honored as the 2013 Emerging Business Leader Award recipient by the Palm Beach Black Chamber of Commerce, 2013 Wells Fargo Outstanding Community Organization Grant recipient. James is also featured in the Next Generation of Business Leaders in the 2012 Aetna African American History Calendar, and he was also honored at the White House for being one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under the age of 30 in 2011. He's responsible for the strategic vision and overseeing his company operations throughout the entire state of Florida, and now owns more than what he likes to call 40,000 thank yous as a direct result from the Impact Taylor's training program. His business and also his organization, Tailored Hearts, has been able to impact over 7,000 youth and parents who participated in his camps, his clinics, and his events. He also runs a program called One-on-One Pro at Your Door Basketball Training Concierge, and was a former pro basketball player playing in Russia and Italy. All right, give it up for All right, Takia Young is a lifestyle engineer, a coach, a business mentor, and she is also an author. She is a speaker, a lifestyle engineer, personal sustainability strategist, who has been spotlighted in the Black Enterprise, The Brand New Mommy, Eco Beauty Wedding, South Florida Times, Miami Times, and All About the Pretty. Takia, sorry, Guys, I did something earlier with like 35-year-olds, so my tongue is a little tied. She wants to live in a world where STEM women, leaders, and entrepreneurs live well and prosper. As the founder of Core Connection Lifestyle, a lifestyle company focused on personal, organizational sustainability strategies, she helps you to find your authentic life equation. Her recently released health supportive food transformation guide, The Clean Eating Experience, is currently available online through her company, CoreConnectionLifestyle.com. Give her a round of applause. And last but not least, see, I told you these bios, man. I need some water already. All right.
I'll be quick.
Okay. Alicia Sanchez is the owner of Favela Designs. Favela Designs, La Sewing Cafe, and the author and curator of Blog City. Alicia has influenced the world through fashion by helping designers build their brands, and as well as the sourcing liaison for South America and the Caribbean markets, allowing fashion bloggers to influence and inspire as a curator of Blog City and Network, and the owner of La Sewing Cafe, a kids' fashion design and sewing school located in Delray Beach. Sanchez is also the author of the book Climbing the Fence, A Journey of Traveling Words. Give her a round of applause. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the questions. And I guess let's start with, how did you get started in entrepreneurship? Because I think that the stereotype is that Black people aren't entrepreneurs, or that we used to be and we kind of fell off. And I got 5 of you guys sitting right here. So if you could share with the audience, and I'll start with Derek and then we'll move on down, of how you got your start in entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur.
I got started in elementary school. Had a fashion show with family at the family reunion. My grandmother, for my birthday, I used to love to eat grits. So she would buy grits, and I put those grits in my briefcase. And I would walk down the fashion show aisle with my suit and my briefcase full of grits. And I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur then. When I got into high school, I started, I took my parents' lawnmower and I pushed that throughout Bainbridge, Georgia, which is like a county, 15,000 people, so everybody pretty much know everybody. So I'd go and I would mow yards, I would do manual labor by taking rubbish from the back to the front, and worked at Subway as well. So I've been doing that since I was a kid.
Very cool. I got my start. I've always known I wanted to be in business, just never understood what capacity. And while I was in college, I got an internship with Goldman Sachs on Wall Street. So I worked in New York City at the time, and while I was in New York, I just couldn't help but be enticed by a lot of different businesses that were in New York City. And one that I got attracted to was actually sneakers, right? So I never wore like Jordans. I was in college, I couldn't afford $250 shoes, right? But somehow these college kids were able to afford it, and they bought them, and they bought Air Force One. So I thought, so I was going, when I was up there, I got in connection with some wholesalers while I was up there in New York City, and I did some pre-orders, right? And I told folks on Facebook, that's how I communicated, that I'm gonna come down to South Florida with these Jordans, and they're gonna be, 20%, 30% off anyway. So I came down for a weekend, and folks bought them.
Ooh, that's good.
And so I went back to New York. I brought some back down, and folks bought them. So that essentially, the guy who was dealing with became my connect. And I ended up, while I was in college, for about 1.5 to 2 years, I was just selling sneakers outside of my trunk. And I was selling sneakers. I was selling shirts, anything that I could get a deal for in New York City, and came back to South Florida and just sold them out of my trunk, and that built a lot of the capital I needed to live in college, and live pretty good. So that's it.
James?
For me, my story goes back to when I was a young boy. Kind of like Derek, I grew up in the country. I'm from Polk County, Florida. So it's a lot of orange groves, a lot of grass, a lot of cows, all that good stuff. So for me, I started cutting yards, but my whole thing was I would go around, push the lawnmower, cut grass. Also, I used to collect cans. In that area, have some big aluminum factories, so I would, distribute trash bags to the neighbors, tell them throughout the week to, dump their cans inside of the trash bags, and I'd be around on Saturday morning to pick all of them up. From there, my grandfather would always give me a ride, take me over to the aluminum plant. I would drop off the cans, collect my 25, 30 bucks, and that became my seed money for other ventures down the line, like selling candy in middle school. I mean, I don't know, to me, I think every entrepreneur has sold candy at one point.
Yeah.
So I sold candy in middle school until my neighborhood, a lady who has a neighborhood store, caught on to it. So she wouldn't sell me any more of those sugar straws anymore or airheads. So that cut down my business profit. Then in high school, I was a part of that emerging, budding tech industry when Napster and those things started to come out. So being a 14, 15-year-old kid in high school, I saved some of that money. I bought a CD burner. So I became the guy who went around the community, brought lists and piece of paper to school. I was a CD man in high school.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I would stay up all night long, download music, and just burning them to a CD and take them to school and sell them throughout school. That started to grow to a point where people would actually ask me if I could make CDs for them, their own special mix. So I would have the newly released hip hop jam and the rap music. I would have that new slowed down, in high school, even though kids, in high school, they still wanted that nice slowed down, groovy music. So we had that Key Sweat, that Silk back in the day. We made sure that was popping. Some R. Kelly, of course. And I became the guy who sold CDs. And then in college, my first day on college in Boca Raton, I ran into Felicia Hatcher. We both went to Lynn University up in Boca. I came down on a basketball scholarship, and once I met her, we further just sparked some more entrepreneurship interest, and her and I co-founded an educational consulting company while being at Lynn University together. And then from there, it's just been a whirlwind of opportunity and just helping people and helping kids, and I sit before you today.
Yeah.
So I think like everybody on the panel, well, most people on the panel, you start that entrepreneurial spark starts when you're young. So I think for me, I tell people my first entrepreneurial endeavor was when I was 6 years old. My father started going gray, so I would pluck his gray hairs for 5 cents a piece. And I was doing pretty well because he was getting grayer and grayer until I started raising my rates on him. He didn't like that, so I raised my rates to 10 cents at the time, and they started getting more gray. So he just shut it down. He just says, no, you're not doing this anymore for me. He just decided to accept his grace. So that was my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And then I've always been really creative. So when I was younger, my mother and sisters and I would do like painted like shirts and sneakers to match, those pumpkin seed sneakers. We used to do shirts and t-shirts to match and sell them at like craft fairs and things of that nature. More as a way as a creative outlet, but it actually made us some money. And then in high school, I started doing hair. And I was like, I made a lot of money doing hair in high school, braids and things like that, which actually started out as just something I did for my sister, but people would constantly ask her who did her hair. So then it extended from, high school all the way actually to college, which when I didn't do, I went to college and actually college was my first time of not actually having an entrepreneurial endeavor, which, of course, now I think about it, I think that's a great time for me to have cultivated that spirit, but I didn't. I was really focused on getting my degrees in physics and all that stuff. And then it extended to a lot of work that I'm doing now, which is around health and prosperity and coaching. And so it started as a young person, and just was always cultivated as a side opportunity. I'm an island person, like I'm sure many people in here are. We're always about having several jobs, several streams of income. So I'm a true believer of that still to this day. I think we get made fun of when you're younger about it, but actually it's the best way to do business is multiple streams of income. So, I still stick with that. And so I started at a very young age, and that's kind of where it started.
So, I think we have a lot in common. I actually started very, very young. If I go way back, my parents migrated, so they came to America, but they lived up north and they always had their business. So my father had a cleaning business. And anything that we wanted, we had to earn it. So we would, all 4 of us, go clean like salons and churches, and we were like, oh my God, is this really what this is all about? But I like to see the flexibility where, my dad would say, no, we don't have to work today. We're gonna take 2 weeks off. And I'm like, what? I want to totally do that, But he was always telling us that we had to go to school as well. But I knew something in me is like, I wanted to, do my own